Alright, I want to start out by saying Barakateh Yahweh.
Barakateh Yahweh.
Barakateh Yahweh Shai.
Barakateh Yahweh Shai.
We're leaving Atlanta for a few. I got the elders of the Mississippi camp here. You know, elders Awar, Banyamyan, and Kazak, and we're on our way to Mississippi right now. So we just wanted to do like a little in transit. And we were gonna go just into some history, touching the book of Daniel, the 9th chapter, from about the 24th verse to the end, which is about the 27th verse. And we're just gonna go into some precepts and a couple of little documents here and there, and see how long the Spirit allows us to go. Maybe it'll be in two parts. Maybe we'll do the first two verses and then maybe the second two verses after. We'll see how the Spirit goes. So if somebody can grab that up real quick, Daniel 9 and 24, and then we can start off right there.
Daniel 9, Daniel chapter 9, verse 24.
Matter of fact, before you read that, read the first and second verse.
Okay.
Hey, because this what we're going into. This is history, but at one time this was considered prophecy. You know, so there's things that the prophet spoke of before that they spoke before it actually happened. You know, like the coming in of the Assyrian Empire, the coming in of the Babylonian Empire, so on and so forth. And then these things actually happen. So now they're historical events that were once prophecies. So read that out.
Daniel chapter 9, verse 1. In the first year of Darius, the son of Ahasuerus, of the seed of the Medes, which was made king over the realm of the Chaldeans, in the first year of his reign, I, Daniel, understood by books the number of years. Right? It says, I, Daniel, understood by books. Meaning what? The scriptures. He understood by books the number of years. Go ahead. Whereof the word of Yahweh came to Jeremiah the prophet, that he would accomplish 70 years in the desolations of Jerusalem. Right, so there was a certain period of time that Jerusalem was going to be devastated. They were going to be in captivity under the Babylonian Empire. And Daniel understood this by what he was reading in the scriptures, because those prophecies actually took place during his time. So he understood it, you know. That's why he looked at it. He said, yeah, you know what, this is what was written in the book of Jeremiah, that the Babylonians, because Israel was being wicked and not listening to the Lord and worshiping idols and doing all different manner of wickedness, the Lord said he was going to bring the Babylonians to come in, sack Jerusalem, destroy the temple, and put Jake in captivity. So it's the same thing now. Now it's the same thing. Now we're speaking about things that were prophesied thousands of years ago, but they're happening now, you know, and we're given the sense, we're given the understanding, you know. And when you go back to them different empires, prior to an empire taking Israel down, the prophets were out there prophesying against Israel that this particular empire was going to come and take them down if they didn't obey and repent to the Lord. So now we're going to go into some history in the book of Daniel, the 9th chapter, and it's a vast history in just those 4 verses. So we're going to go and try to cover as much of it as we can. So let's go to the 24th verse. Time. Daniel chapter 9, verse 24. 70 weeks are determined upon thy people and upon thy holy city, to finish the transgression and to make an end of sins, and to make reconciliation for iniquity, and to bring in everlasting righteousness, and to seal up the vision and prophecy, and to anoint the most holy. Right, because the Most High gives a certain period of time where these prophecies are to be fulfilled, you know. And the prophecies don't go over the time period, but a lot of the times, or some of the times, they'll go under. Like for instance, when you go to the Babylonian Empire, the Lord said that we were going to be in captivity under the Babylonians for 70 years, but the Lord cut it short. About 66, 67 years, possibly 68, you know, but the Lord cut it short because he can do that. But he's not going to allow it to go further because of his word.
So this right here, it says the 70 weeks are determined upon thy people. Now it's not talking about 70 actual weeks. These are prophetic weeks. So these 70 prophetic weeks represent 7 times 7 is 49. So 70 times 7 is what? 490. So this is prophetic of 490 years that were going to take place from the beginning of this vision to the end of this vision. But now some people they try to use the number, the actual years, as they try to make it to the T. The Most High don't operate like that, man. He doesn't operate like that. But just to prove that point that these are prophetic, there's other scriptures in the book of Ezekiel. I can't think of it right now, but let me see if I can find this one particular one in the book of Genesis 29. Right.
I could probably find one in Ezekiel.
Yeah, if you could find that one. This one here is just bear with us 1 second. And this is not going to be a controversial video. To a lot of you, it's going to be boring. So I suggest you change the channel and turn the pages. Just change the channel, man. All right, go to Genesis 29. A matter of fact, I'll read it. Genesis 29 and 15. It says, and Laban said unto Jacob, because thou art my brother, shouldest thou therefore serve me for naught? Tell me, what shall thy wages be? And Laban had 2 daughters. The name of the elder was Leah, and the name of the younger was Rachel. Leah was tender-eyed, but Rachel was beautiful and well-favored. And Jacob loved Rachel, and said, I will serve thee 7 years for Rachel thy younger daughter. It says, and Laban said, it is better that I give her to thee than that I should give her to another man. Abide with me. And Jacob served 7 years for Rachel, and they seemed unto him but a few days, for the love he had to her. So now when it was 7 actual years, but when you read on further down, let's see, you read on further down, I'll start at 26, because Laban pretty much he deceived Jacob, and he ended up giving him Leah instead of Rachel.
Yeah, the eldest daughter.
The eldest daughter first. So he actually served for 7 years and didn't get what he wanted. So now it says, verse 26, and Laban said, it must not be so done in our country to give the younger before the firstborn. Fulfill her week, and we will give thee this also for the service which thou shalt serve with me yet 7 other years. So it wasn't an actual week, but it was actual. Those 7 weeks represented a year each of them. So sometimes when the Lord speaks prophetically in terms of months or years, is talking about, or days, is talking about other things. It's like if he might say day, and it might be talking about an actual year. You had something up?
Yep.
All right.
Ezekiel chapter 4 verse 6. And when thou hast accomplished them, lie again on thy right side, and thou shalt bear the iniquity of the house of Judah 40 days. I have appointed thee each day for a year.
See, I have appointed thee each day for a year. So going back to Daniel 9 and 24, 70 weeks are determined upon thy people and upon thy holy city. So those 70 weeks was 70 times 7, which is 490, which was 490 years. All right. And when you go back into the Middle Persian Empire, the Middle Persian Empire was around 500 and 400 some odd BC. Okay, so that was the beginning point of this. So now it says that there's 70 weeks are determined upon thy people and upon thy holy city to finish the transgression. Why? Because Jake was going off. So the Lord had to cause a chastening to come upon the nation of Israel so that they can be forgiven of their trespasses. And how did the Lord put that whipping on Israel? He allowed the Babylonians to come into Jerusalem and to destroy the temple. You know, and when they came into Jerusalem and destroyed the temple, there was a desolation. There was a cry. Israel was going into captivity. And under one of the kings, I forgot, I think his name was Jeconiah, when he got taken captive, I believe it was Jeconiah, Mordecai in the book of Esther was also taken captive with him at that time. That's why Mordecai was in the streets, you know, in the Middle Persian Empire, because he was a captive, you know, among Israel that fell into the hands of the Babylonians at the time. Okay, you have something up?
No, I was just gonna say in Ezra it gives the records of the different men that was carried away captive, and Mordecai is mentioned.
That's right. That's right. It says, and to make an end of sins, and to make reconciliation for iniquity, and to bring in everlasting righteousness, and to seal up the vision and prophecy, and to anoint the most holy, because the Most High said he's not a man that he should lie. So everything that he speaks of has to be fulfilled. So read on, bro.
Daniel chapter 9, verse 25. Know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and to build Jerusalem unto the Messiah, the Prince, shall be 7 weeks.
Okay, stop right there. It says, know therefore all, and understand, because what they did was the 24th verse gave you an event and a time frame of when this is going to start and when it was going to end. Now it's giving you the beginning point and the ending point, from point to point. So it says, know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the commandment, what commandment was that? Hold that, brother, and somebody get Isaiah chapter 44 and verse 28. Because the Most High gave this commandment, but he gave this commandment to a certain particular individual. You know? And the Lord could use these other nations for the betterment of Israel. Did not it says, hold up, let me read this real quick while the brother's getting that. This is Jeremiah 15:11. The Lord said, verily it shall be well with thy remnant. Verily I will cause the enemy to entreat thee well in the time of evil and in the time of affliction. So these other nations are our enemies, but the Lord caused this particular individual, which we're going to read about, to do something and give an order or a decree or a commandment to help build this temple. So read that, brother, and we're going to, take it from there.
Isaiah 44:28. That saith of Cyrus, he is my shepherd, and shall perform all my pleasure. Even saying to Jerusalem, thou shalt be built, and to the temple thy foundation shall be laid.
Right, so it says, that saith of Cyrus, this is the Most High speaking, he is my shepherd, and shall perform all my pleasure, even saying to Jerusalem, thou shalt be built, and to the temple thy foundation shall be laid. Why? Because the Babylonians came and destroyed it. And that's when Esau was there talking about raise it, you know. They were on the side of the Babylonians, cheering the Babylonians on to destroy Jerusalem and to destroy us. All right, let me see something. They've got a precept here. It's like Z. This is probably gonna say the same thing. Let me see something. 2 Chronicles 36 and 22. Just bear with us 1 second.
Oh, I'm right there. You want that?
Yeah, you got that?
2 Chronicles chapter 36, verse 22.
All right.
Now in the first year of Cyrus, king of Persia, that the word of Yahweh spoken by the mouth of Jeremiah might be accomplished. Yahweh stirred up the spirit of Cyrus, king of Persia, that he made a proclamation throughout all his kingdom, and put it also in writing, saying, thus saith Cyrus, king of Persia, all the kingdoms of the earth have Yahweh, power of heaven, given me, and have charged me to build him an house in Jerusalem, which is in Judah, who is therefore among you of all his people. Yahweh, his power be with him, and let him go up.
Right, so this is an enemy, right? Because the other nations are enemies, but the Lord had this enemy befriend us. You know, just like the builder, what was his name during the time of King Solomon? Hiram Abiff.
Yeah, Hiram. Yeah.
Hiram, the Lord, even though that he was of another nation, the Lord made him bring stuff to King Solomon to beautify the temple and to build the temple. You see, so the Lord does that. He could use the enemies to treat us well. And the scriptures say, when a man's ways please the Lord, he maketh his enemies to be at peace with him. You know. So now, let's go from there, brother. Go to the information you had on Cyrus. Hey, and this is, you know, this is, like I said, this is not no controversial video. It ain't gonna get that many views. People are gonna get bored. They're gonna fall asleep. You know, they're gonna be like, oh man, why they ain't getting on the black woman, or why they ain't getting on another camp? And this is not for you, man. Leave it alone, man. Go ahead, brother.
This is on the website www.bibleodyssey.org. The name of the article is "The Destruction and Reconstruction of the Temple." All right, and it reads: the Jerusalem temple, said to have been built by Solomon, was destroyed in 587/586 of BCE. When the Babylonians captured the city, torched it, and exiled the Judean leadership to Babylon. 2 Kings describes the final days. All right. It says, in the 5th month, Nebuzaradan, the captain of the bodyguard, a servant of the king of Babylon, came to Jerusalem. He burned the house of the Most High, the king's house, and all the houses of Jerusalem. Every great house he burned down. 2 Kings chapter 25, verse 8 to 9.
Yeah, and what they did was they took all of the royalty of Israel and the Israelites, and they put them in captivity, but they left the poorest of Israel still there. You know? Go ahead.
This event marked a turning point in Israelite history because it spelled the end of an autonomous or even a semi-autonomous Judean state. It initiated a period usually called the exilic period that came to an end in the biblical record when King Cyrus of Persia conquered the Babylonian Empire in 539 BCE. Subsigned that empire under his own rule and permitted Judeans to return to the land and rebuild the temple. Ezra chapter 1. The prophetic books of Haggai and Zechariah portray these prophets as urging the leaders and the people to rebuild the temple. Ezra 1-6 depicts their successful efforts to do so, despite opposition from some peoples of the land whose identity is not always clear. Most scholars date the actual completion of the restored temple to 516 to 515 BCE.
Yeah, and these are, with these dates and all that, these are all, what's the word I'm looking for? They're all estimations.
Right.
You know, that's why you have a lot of times they have a C, a capital C with a dot. That means circa. You know, and that's because they just have an idea of when these events took place, but they don't have the actual dates. You know, so when you're trying to get too involved in the dates and this date here and that date here and this, you're gonna get lost. You know, because you're thinking like Esau now. You're thinking on a carnal level. You know? You got it, bro.
Ezra 3 depicts the beginning of the restoration with the building of the altar and setting the temple foundations. According to Ezra 4, however, enemies interfered by reporting to the Persian king that the builders were a rebellious people. After these and other delays, the temple was completed in 515 BCE.
Yeah, which they're going off on that part there, you know. But they did, which we're gonna read. Israel were having the battle with these different nations, you know, and they did have to, you know, fight to build a temple because there were a lot of hindrances from these other nations, as we're gonna read. Go ahead.
during the time of the Persian king Darius, 525 to 486 BCE.
Right.
The Hebrew Bible does not describe the rebuilt temple, although Ezra 6:3 says that its height shall be 60 cubits and its width 60 cubits.
Yeah, but it talks about the bath gate and the dung gate and all that. He speaks about different things that they were building. And plus, you didn't have to really go into detail with it because King Solomon already went into details. All they were doing was rebuilding what King Solomon built, you know, and it was already set up how it was supposed to be built, you know, by King Solomon. So all Israel was doing at that time with the governors and leaders and the elders was basically getting the command from these other nations to rebuild what was already built and destroyed, you know. That's why they had to take debris out and they had to just build up certain walls, you know. Go ahead,
The emphasis falls on its placement, that is, that it should be installed precisely at the place of the first temple.
That's it. And then, why are you going to describe again what was already described by King Solomon and how it was built, you know, and how it was arrayed and all of that? All they did was rebuild what was already there, you know.
Went off the original blueprint.
Right. But you know, Esau, that's how Esau is. Well, they didn't describe the second. So what? You want to know about the second temple? Go back to King Solomon, and it'll explain it there. It'll give you the dimensions, you know, and everything that they put up there, where the gold was laid, where the Ark of the Covenant was laid, the Holy of Holies, you know, where they put pomegranates and all that different things, specifics that the Most High gave. The Most High gave. Okay.
Ezra 3 contrasts this new edifice with its predecessor. Many of the priests and Levites and heads of families, old people who had seen the first house on its foundations, wept with a loud voice when they saw this house, though many shouted aloud for joy. Ezra 3 and 12, see also Haggai 2 and 3,
yep.
which notes that the restored temple is less grand than the former one. Whether or not it compared favorably to the first temple, the restored temple marked a new epoch.
Right.
It signified the renewal of Israelite life, they say Jewish, after the devastation of exile. Moreover, it signaled a new role for the people themselves. Whereas the first temple was credited to Solomon and was built with forced labor, the second temple was the work of the people themselves. Although it came into being under Persian royal auspices, see Ezra 1 and 1 to 4, the actual builders were the Judeans. Ezra 1 and 5 to 6 and verse 14 also, who also unilaterally vowed to maintain it. Nehemiah 10 and 32 to 39. In the absence of a monarchy, the second temple came to occupy a greater place in Judean life than did Solomon's temple. That's it on that.
Yeah. All right. So now let's go. Let's go from there. Let's go to Ezra chapter 1 and 1. Somebody could get that. Like I said, this is not a controversial video. We ain't gonna be talking about black women. We ain't gonna be talking about certain cats unless a spirit jump on us. You know, so if you're looking for the controversy and this is boring to you, just turn the channel. Go ahead, brother.
Ezra 1 and 1. Now in the first year of Cyrus, king of Persia, that the word of the Lord by the mouth of Jeremiah might be fulfilled, the Lord stirred up the spirit of Cyrus, king of Persia, that he made a proclamation throughout all his kingdom, and put it also in writing, saying.
Yeah, so the Lord made him do this. This is something that the Lord put in his spirit. Does not the scripture say, man's goings are of the Lord? How can the man understand his own ways? that the Lord seals the instructions of men, you know, in their dreams. The heart of the king is in the Lord's hand. He turneth it whithersoever he wants to. You know, so the Lord made this heathen king to give a decree to rebuild the temple. So we have accounts of it in the scriptures of when it was destroyed, and we have accounts of it of when it was rebuilt. Go ahead.
Thus saith Cyrus, king of Persia, the Most High of heaven hath given me all the kingdoms of the earth, and he hath charged me to build him an house at Jerusalem, which is in Judah. Who is there among you of all his people? The Most High be with him, and let him go up to Jerusalem, which is in Judah, and build the house of the Most High of Israel. He is the Most High, which is in Jerusalem. And whosoever remaineth in any place where he sojourneth, let the men of his place help him with silver, and with gold, and with goods, and with beasts, beside the freewill offering for the house of the Most High that is in Jerusalem. Then rose up the chief of the fathers of Judah and Benjamin, and the priests and the Levites, and with all them whose spirit the Most High had raised, to go up to build the house of the Most High which is in Jerusalem.
Now, why didn't they say in Ephraim and Simeon and Levi? I mean, Ephraim and Simeon and Issachar. You know, why didn't it mention them? Because they were already on this side of the world. By the time that the Lord had, by the time the Lord destroyed the temple, the 10 tribes are already gone and come over to this side of the world. That's why it mentioned what? Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. You know? Go ahead, bro.
And all they that were about them strengthened their hands with vessels of silver, with gold, with goods, and with beasts, and with precious things, besides all that was willingly offered. Also Cyrus the king brought forth the vessels of the house of the Lord, which Nebuchadnezzar had brought forth out of Jerusalem, and had put them in the house of his gods. Even those did Cyrus king of Persia bring forth by the hand of Mithridath, the treasurer, and numbered them unto Sheshbazzar, the prince of Judah. And this is the number of them: 30 chargers of gold, 1,000 chargers of silver, 29 knives, 30 basins of gold, silver basins of a second sort, 410, and other vessels 1,000. All the vessels of gold and of silver were 5,400. All these did Sheshbazzar bring up with them of the captivity that were brought up from Babylon unto Jerusalem.
Yeah, and the Most High had things set up specifically how he wanted it. You know, that's why he said those that would give willingly of a willing offer, then they would give whatever of whatever they had, and the Levites in them would take that and make and rebuild the temple the way it was supposed to be rebuilt. You know. Now let's go back to Daniel 9 and 25 again. Yep.
Daniel chapter 9 verse 25. Know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and to build Jerusalem unto the Messiah the Prince shall be 7 weeks and 62 weeks. The street shall be built again, and the wall even in troublous times. Right.
So it's giving you a beginning point and an ending point. Now it says, know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and to build Jerusalem unto the Messiah the Prince shall be 7 weeks and 62 weeks, which is what? That's 69 weeks. You know. Now somebody do the math. What's 69 times 7? Which pretty much all you gotta do is take 7 years away from the 490 years. You get what? 483 years.
Yeah.
So from the time of when the decree was given for the temple to be rebuilt until Yahushua came on the scene, which is the Messiah, was about 483 years. You know. And like I said, the dates that they give are not accurate. You know, they're what's the word I'm looking for? Circa, around that time period. So if you're trying to go to the white man to get all the different dates and get it all accurate, you're not going to get it accurate. All right. So it says, so that's 69 weeks, right? From the decree which we read up, that Cyrus actually gave the decree, to rebuild Jerusalem. So from that point, when the temple when it was set for the temple to be built, and from the time that the temple was actually finished in building, took a process of time. And then from when the temple was fully built or fully rebuilt, it took a period of time. And then from that point till the Messiah came on the scene, it took another a period of time. So the prophecy says it was going to be 69 weeks that this whole process was going to take place, from the rebuilding of the temple and the decree and the rebuilding of the temple to Yahushua came on the scene, which is the Messiah. All right. It says to restore and to build Jerusalem unto the Messiah Prince shall be 7 weeks and 62 weeks. It says the street shall be built again, and the wall even in troublous times. So now what are these troublous times talking about? Is this talking about the siege in Jerusalem in 70 AD? No. This is talking about, let's go from there to the book of Nehemiah, the 4th chapter, and start at the 1st verse and read on down. Because that troublous time, even though the Medo-Persians didn't wage war on us and beat us down like they were doing the other nations, you had the other nations that were our enemies that were hindering our building. So we had to you had men back then, Israelite men back then that were strapped and ready to go to war, because these damn heathens were trying to stop the building of the temple. And that was for the glory of Israel, for Israel to be built back up, because they were happy when the Babylonians came in and destroyed Jerusalem. It tells you that. Matter of fact, somebody get that real quick. What is that in Lamentation 2 and 14, is it? They were happy when the Lord allowed the Babylonians to destroy the temple in Jerusalem, because they were rejoicing, because they knew that the Most High was mad at us. And as long as the Most High was mad at us, they could do whatever the hell they wanted to do. That's why these devils today, what they do is they make Jake do things, eat pork and have him do certain commercials of eating bacon sandwiches and all that, and be homosexuals, so they can accuse Israel to the Most High. Say, look at your people, look what they're doing.
Accuse of thy brother.
Yeah, the accuser of thy brethren. Look what they're doing. Because they know that as long as Israel is going off and committing iniquities and not being in line with their power, the Most High is not going to defend them. See? But you're so demonic that you think that you're doing this stuff and the Most High don't see what you're doing. Damn devil. Go ahead, bro.
Lamentations 2 and 15. All that pass by clap their hands at thee. They hiss and wag their head at the daughter of Jerusalem, saying, is this the city that men call the perfection of beauty, the joy of the whole earth?
Right, because at one time that's how we were. That's what the Lord said, keep these laws, statutes, and commandments in the sight of the nations, and they're going to say, what great nation is like unto this people of Israel that has the Most High so near unto them, that has that are in the face of the Lord, because the face of the Lord is His presence and His knowledge. As Apostle Gabar just did a video, I believe it was last night he did a video, or sometime yesterday, probably before a camp. Go ahead.
All thine enemies have opened their mouth against thee. They hiss and gnash the teeth. They say, we have swallowed her up. Certainly this is the day that we looked for.
Right, we have swallowed her up. Certainly this is the day that we looked for. So they were happy when when we fell back then, during the time of the Babylonians. And Israel was desolate for a while, until the Lord allowed the sentence, that 70-year sentence, to pass, and then have a new ruler set up, which was Cyrus, you know, which was a Persian. He had him set up so that he can give the order for us to build the temple. All right? Was that it on that lamentation?
It was just a little more.
All right, gotta finish that off.
We have swallowed her up. Certainly this is the day that we looked for. We have found, we have seen it.
That's right. So let's go to Nehemiah 4. And if you brothers got any points y'all want to make, you know, feel free.
Nehemiah chapter 4 verse 1. But it came to pass that when Sanballat heard that we builded the wall, alright, Nehemiah 4 and 1. But it came to pass that when Sanballat heard that we builded the wall, he was wroth and took great indignation and mocked the Jews. And he spake before
Right. So it said that the wall should be built, or Jerusalem, or the temple shall be built what? In troublous times. So this is the troubling. The troubling was the nations fighting against us, and also going to these different kings and having the kings write letters to have the actual process of building stopped. Go ahead.
And he spake before his brethren and the army of Samaria, and said, what do these people Jews? Will they fortify themselves?
Yeah, mocking Jake back then, which they still do today. Go ahead.
Will they sacrifice? Will they make an end in a day? Will they revive the stones out of the heaps of the rubbish which are burned?
Right. So that's what they're saying. Are they going to take all these stones that are all these heaps in Jerusalem, the way it's all knocked down? Are they going to be able to build this back up? They weak now. They ain't going to be able to do that. Go ahead.
Now Tobiah the Ammonite was by him, and he said, even that which they build, if a fox go up, he shall even break down their stone wall. Hear, O our power, for we are despised, and turn their reproach upon their own head, and give them for a prey in the land of captivity, and cover not their iniquity, and let not their sin be blotted out from before thee, for they have provoked thee to anger before the builders. So built we the wall, and all the wall was joined together unto the half thereof, for the people had a mind to work. But it came to pass that when Sanballat and Tobiah and the Arabians and the Ammonites and the Ashdodites heard that the walls of Jerusalem were made up and that the breaches began to be stopped, then they were very wroth.
And you know what's funny, right? That was a physical temple being built back then, and these nations were mad and they were trying to stop it. Today, the breaches of the house of David are being built up spiritually, and these heathens are trying to stop it again. That's why they got all these different so-called wacky ass Christians, you know, coming against us to try to stop the building of the temple spiritually, the way they try to stop it back then. And these guys, these Edomites and these other nations that are coming against us now, they're the same demons and the same heathens that were coming against us back then, during the time of the physical rebuilding of the temple. You see?
Because the temple of the Most High is within us.
That's right.
It's within the hopefully elect in these last days. That's why they're the only ones out here on the highways and byways doing what? Pushing that the rebuilding and the reestablishment of the house of David.
That's right. That's right, man. So it's no different. All you gotta do is you look at everything is reincarnated. You know, that's what the scripture say. The thing that has been is that which shall be done. You know, and there's no new thing under the sun, because them same spirits are back, and they're gonna be doing the same exact thing that they were doing back then.
That's right.
You got it, bro.
And conspired all of them together to come and to fight against Jerusalem and to hinder it. Nevertheless, we made our prayer unto our power and set a watch against them day and night because of them. And Judah said, the strength of the bearers of burdens is decayed, and there is much rubbish, so that we are not able to build the wall. And our adversary said, they shall not know, neither see, till we come in the midst among them and slay them and cause the work to cease.
And that was their whole mindset, to stop the work, because they knew there was a lot of rubble there, you know, and it was hard to work because you had to clean the area, and then you can't just start building if there's stones that are broken up. You got to take all them stones that are broken up and put new ones there, so you can build your wall again. So it took a process of time. Go ahead.
And it came to pass that when the Jews which dwelt by them came, they said unto us 10 times, from all places whence ye shall return unto us, they will be upon you. Therefore said I, in the lower places behind the wall, and on the higher places, I even set the people after their families, with their swords, their spears, and their bows. And I looked and rose up and said unto the nobles, and to the rulers, and to the rest of the people, be not ye afraid of them. Remember the Lord, which is great and terrible, and fight for your brethren, your sons and your daughters, your wives and your houses. And it came to pass, when our enemies heard that it was known unto us, and the Most High had brought their counsel to naught, that we returned all of us to the wall, every one unto his work. And it came to pass from that time forth that the half of my servants brought in the work, and the other half of them held both the spears, the shields, and the bows, and the habergeons, and the rulers were behind all the house of Judah.
Yeah, so you even had men that had to build with one hand and fight with the other hand. They had a weapon of war in the other hand, as we're gonna read. Go ahead.
They which builded on the wall, and they that bear burdens with those that laded, every one with one of his hands brought in the work, and with the other hand held a weapon.
Yeah, because they had to fight these goddamn heathens.
That's right.
And pretty much we're fighting these heathens right now spiritually. It's a verbal war right now, because they're doing the same thing. They're trying to stop the truth. They're causing all type of hindrances, but the Lord is still maneuvering through all that madness, because it's the decree of the Lord that the breaches of the house of David be built back up. And that's what they're not spiritual at all. Go ahead.
For the builders, every one had his sword girded by his side, and so builded. And he that sounded the trumpet was by me. And I said unto the nobles, and to the rulers, and to the rest of the people, the work is great and large, and we are separated upon the wall, one far from another. And what place therefore ye hear the sound of the trumpet, resort ye thither unto us, our power shall fight for us.
Mm-hmm.
So we labored in the work, and half of them held the spears, from the rising of the morning till the stars appeared. Likewise, at the same time said I unto the people, that every one with his servant lodge within Jerusalem, that in the night they may be a guard to us, and labor on the day. So neither I, nor my brethren, nor my servants, nor the men of the guard which follow me, none of us put off our clothes, saving that every one put them off for washing.
Yeah, hey, because it was rough. Hey man, if when all hell breaks loose and we have to go into the woods, there's gonna be days where you ain't gonna be able to take a shower.
Right.
That was the end of the
time.
All right, now let's go from there to Ezra, chapter 4, verse 1. So we never got along with these nations, ever. That whole bullshit doctrine, God loves everybody, that's some new shit. That's that new Babylonian juice. That new age juice that these people out here drinking, man.
GMO.
Yeah, that GMO Babylonian grape juice. The seedless grapes.
That's why Paul marveled. He marveled at these different doctrines that you come up with out of one single book.
Beautiful. Yeah, that's right. All right, so let's go to Ezra 4 and 1. Somebody can pick up one.
Ezra 4 and 1. Now when the adversaries of Judah and Benjamin heard that the children of the captivity builded the temple unto the Lord power of Israel, then they came to Zerubbabel and to the chief of the fathers and said unto them, let us build with you, for we seek your power, as ye do.
Mm-hmm.
And we do sacrifice unto him since the days of Esarhaddon, king of Asher.
That's right. So now somebody get real quick 2 Kings 17 and 20. Because these heathens were put in the Samaria and in those regions there. You know, so they said, look, we want to build with you because since the days of Esar are done, you know, our fathers been building here. You know, so we want to come in and join with you and build with you. You know, but you other nations have nothing to do with us. You know, because the Lord said He separated all people. And He said Israel, pretty much set Israel apart from all these other nations. That's what the Lord said, you know, make sure you keep these laws, statutes, and commandments, because this is what sanctifies you. This is what makes you holy. This is what separates you from all these other nations. These other nations walk however they want to walk. You know, they have their own bugged out rules. But we have the instruction book that is a guideline to keep you from deviancy, so to speak. You got it up?
2 Kings chapter 17 verse 20. And Yahweh rejected all the seed of Israel and afflicted them and delivered them into the hand of spoilers.
Right, and those spoilers were the Assyrians. Go ahead.
Until He had cast them out of His sight.
That's right. Go ahead, read on.
It's the land of Israel.
That's right. Out of His sight, right, because the land of Israel is the sight of the Lord. You know, also the knowledge. No, but it is the land, it's the land of Israel. Go ahead.
For He rent Israel from the house of David, and they made...
What? He said, we did what?
For He rent Israel from the house of David.
Now that's what the Lord said, He's closing the breaches thereof and building up the tabernacles of David as in the days of old. So the other tribes got to be brought into this thing. Go ahead. So now when you go back during the time of the Medo-Persian Empire, when Israel was under them, in subjection under them, the tabernacles of David couldn't be built because the rest of the tribes wasn't there.
Right.
So that was just a temporary thing. That building was a temporary thing. Right now, what we're going through is we're going through the real building of the house of the tabernacles of David. You know, and closing the breaches thereof.
Can I say something about
Yes, sir.
That's why we're all on this side.
Yep.
We're all in the Western Hemisphere. I mean, we're everywhere, you know, but the bulk of Israel are in the Western Hemisphere now.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah, because this is where Israel came to. When they got casted out of Samaria, brought to Assyria, and left from Assyria and came over here. You got it, brother.
2 Kings 17 and 21. For He rent Israel from the house of David, and they made Jeroboam the son of Nebat king. And Jeroboam drave Israel from following Yahweh, and made them sin a great sin. For the children of Israel walked in all the sins of Jeroboam, which he did. They departed not from them, until Yahweh removed Israel out of His sight. As He had said by all His servants the prophets, so was Israel carried away out of their own land to Assyria unto this day.
Boom.
And the king of Assyria brought men from Babylon, and from Cutha, and from Ava, and from Hamath, and from Sepharvaim, and placed them in the cities of Samaria instead of the children of Israel.
Right, and these are the heathens that were coming to Zerubbabel and Joshua, trying to build, you know, and we're gonna go with that. That wasn't on there, right?
Well, it's a little bit more.
Okay, good.
And they possessed Samaria and dwelt in the cities thereof.
Right, they possessed Samaria and dwelt in the cities thereof. That's why they were there. That's why Yahweh Shai cursed the Samaritan woman at the well, because she wasn't an Israelite. You know, because her forefathers were placed in that land instead of the actual children of Israel. And then you had Israelites that fled into Samaria for refuge when they were called apostates by the Jews in Jerusalem, when they were accused of breaking the law. They fled from Jerusalem, from Israel, and fled into Samaria because there was a safe haven there for them. Because these heathens were still keeping the customs that we and the laws that were taught to them by one Levite priest that came to that land to teach them the ways. Because prior to that, them lions was tearing their asses up because they weren't doing the right thing. So the Most High gave them some act right. All right, so let's go back to Ezra.
All right. Verse 3 in Ezra chapter 4. But Zerubbabel and Jeshua and the rest of the chief of the fathers of Israel said unto them, Ye have nothing to do with us to build an house unto our power, But we ourselves together will build unto the Lord power of Israel.
Hey, and we still echo that sentiment today.
Right.
You ain't got nothing to do to build whatever. We don't want your nasty heathenistic hands touching the scriptures or touching what we're doing. The Lord's raised us up to do this.
That's right.
You know, you heathens got your place, and your place is slavery, captivity.
That's right.
You know, don't worry. When the kingdom comes, you're gonna be working. You know, you ain't gonna have to worry about being unemployed, because when the kingdom is set up, you're gonna be the ones building the kingdom up for us.
That's right.
You know, that's the only involvement that you're gonna have with the nation of Israel, is being slaves. Nothing else.
That's right. Servants.
Servants, that's it. And your women are gonna be concubines if they look good.
That's right.
All right, go ahead.
But we ourselves together will build unto the Lord power of Israel, as King Cyrus the king of Persia hath commanded us. Then the people of the land weakened the hands of the people of Judah, and troubled them in building.
See?
Yep.
They troubled the hands of Judah because they didn't want the temple to be built.
Exactly.
Because, like, man, if this temple gets built and these people get back in order with their power, we in trouble.
Because it happened like clockwork all the time. The nations waited upon that moment when the Lord turned his back upon his people just to overtake them. But
That's
they want to
right.
help in our building.
That's
no,
right.
No, you want to here to hinder and sabotage it, just as in the days of old.
That's right. That's
I
right.
got a quick precept.
Yeah, bring it out. Bring it out.
Nehemiah chapter 2, verse 19 to 20. But when Sanballat the Horite, or the Horonite, and Tobiah the servant, the Ammonite, and Geshem the Arabian heard it, they laughed us to scorn and despised us, and said, What is this thing that ye do? Will ye rebel against the king? Then answered I them, and said unto them, The power of heaven, he will prosper us. Therefore we his servants will arise and build. But ye have no portion, nor right, nor memorial in Jerusalem.
That's right, because these people, these other nations got nothing to do with this.
That's right.
All right, so let's go back to Ezra. And then you can get Ezra 5 and 1 once he finishes this.
Verse 4. Then the people of the land weakened the hands of the people of Judah, and troubled them in building, and hired counselors against them to frustrate their purpose all the days of Cyrus king of Persia, even until the reign of Darius king of Persia. And in the reign of Ahasuerus, in the beginning of his reign, wrote they unto him an accusation against the inhabitants of Judah and Jerusalem.
So what we're reading about now is what we read in the book of Daniel about the wall shall be built in troublous times. Go ahead.
And in the days of Artaxerxes, wrote Bishlam, Mithridath, Tabeel, and the rest of their companions unto Artaxerxes king of Persia, and the writing of the letter was written in the Syrian tongue, and interpreted in the Syrian tongue. Rehum the chancellor and Shimshai the scribe wrote a letter against Jerusalem to Artaxerxes the king in this sort. Then wrote Rehum the chancellor and Shimshai the scribe and the rest of their companions, the Dynates, the Apharsachites, the Tarpelites, the Apharsites, the Archivites, the Babylonians, the Susanchites, the Dehavites, and the Elamites, and the rest of the nations whom the great and noble Asnapper brought over, and set in the cities of Samaria, and the rest that are on this side the river, and at such a time. This is the copy of the letter that they sent unto him, even unto Artaxerxes the king. Thy servants, the men on this side of the river, and at such a time, be it known unto the king that the Jews which came up from thee to us are come unto Jerusalem, building the rebellious and the bad city, and have set up the walls thereof, and joined the foundations. Be it known now unto the king that if the city be builded and the wall set up again, then will they not pay toll, tribute, and custom, and so thou shalt damage the revenue of the kings. Now because we have maintenance from the king's palace, and it was not meet for us to see the king's dishonor, therefore have we sent and certified the king. And search may be made in the book of the records of thy fathers, so shalt thou find in the book of the records, and know that this city is a rebellious city, and hurtful unto kings and provinces, and that they have moved sedition within the same of old time. For which cause was this city destroyed? We certify the king that if this city be built again, and the walls thereof set up, by this means thou shalt have no portion on this side the river. Then sent the king an answer unto Rehum, the chancellor, and to Shimshai, the scribe, and to the rest of their companions that dwell in Samaria, and unto the rest beyond the river, peace. And at such a time, the letter which he sent unto us hath been plainly read before me. And I commanded, and search hath been made, and it is found that this city of old time hath made insurrection against kings, and that rebellion and sedition have been made therein. There have been mighty kings also over Jerusalem, which have ruled over all countries beyond the river, and toll, tribute, and custom was paid unto them. Give ye now commandment to cause these men to cease, and that this city be not builded until another commandment shall be given from me. Take heed now that ye fail not to do this. Why should damage grow to the hurt of the kings? Now when the copy of King Artaxerxes' letter was read before Rehum and Shimshai the scribe and their companions, they went up in haste to Jerusalem unto the Jews, and made them to cease by force and power. Then ceased the work of the house of the Most High, which is at Jerusalem, so it ceased until the 2nd year of the reign of Darius, king of Persia.
Yeah, so you see, they were going through a process. It's like they were given a decree, then they started building, and they were hassled. They had to fight off these damn heathens. Then the heathens would go to the certain kings that were set up, and those kings would give decrees and letters to stop building. Then they had to wait for a certain period of time till this other king came in and gave the decree. You know, so it was like a whole big to-do. And all because these heathens didn't want Israel to be set back up into power, because they knew that once Israel was set back up into power, they were going to be in trouble.
So they slandered them. They made up different allegations against them to make them appear as though they were savages, always causing riots and coming up against the king of the land. You know?
Yeah, and then that's why even when you go up into the time of the Roman Empire, you had persecution of Jake back then. You know, the Nero, they say he burnt down Rome and blamed it on Israel, you know? And there was a great persecution, you know, because they don't want Israel to rule, you know? So they're always trying to hinder the building. Now we're building spiritually, and they're still trying to hinder. But it's not going to work, because the decree is already gone forth out of the mouth of the Most High. You know, and we're just doing what the Lord commanded us to do in the first place.
You kind of make a point?
Yeah.
It's like, go ahead.
I was just going to say they brought up mighty kings. So they was bringing up men like Solomon and King David.
Yep.
Who were jacking them up. You know, and they were saying, hey, they once ruled over y'all. So if you let them rebuild, they going to do the same thing. You know, so
yeah,
like they was really, they were hating, man.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, so they're gonna cut into your pockets, man.
Oh yeah.
You had a point?
Yeah, I was gonna pretty much fast forward into the time of Columbus. In order for Columbus to gain the funding that he needed to overcome the lands of the Americas, he had to lie unto King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella, because when he first landed, all right, in the Bahamas, he talked about how of a goodly and pleasant people the Israelites were,
right,
or the Taínos were. But when he needed that funding in order to slaughter them and get more men, get more ships there, he wrote unto the king and the queen that they were savages and unruly people who needed to be converted to Christians, you know?
Yeah.
So he flipped the script.
Yep.
Just to conquer our people, as the heathen nations always want to do.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, for you guys that believe that all the tribes are black people, that was the beginning of the transatlantic slave trade, man.
That's right.
You know?
That's it.
That's nice.
All right, so go ahead.
Ezra chapter 5 and verse 1.
And then you can read the 6th chapter. And then we're going to close after that. You know, we're going to go back and just read Daniel real quick back again. And then we're going to end it there. And Roswell, we could do another lesson on it to get the other 2 verses. Hey, because there's a lot of history just in those 4 verses. You got it.
Ezra chapter 5, verse 1. Then the prophets, Haggai the prophet, and Zechariah the son of Edo, prophesied unto the Jews that were in Judah and Jerusalem in the name of the power of Israel, even unto them. Then rose up Zerubbabel, the son of Shealtiel, and Jeshua, the son of Josedek, and began to build the house of the Most High, which is at Jerusalem. And with them were the prophets of the Most High helping them. At the same time came to them Tatnai, governor on this side the river, and Shether-Boznai, and their companions, and said thus unto them, who have commanded you to build this house, and to make up this wall? Then said we unto them after this manner, what are the names of the men that make this building? But the eye of their power was upon the elders of the Jews, that they could not cause them to cease, till the matter came to Darius.
Yeah, and that's the same thing going on today. They're trying to stop it, but they can't make it to cease, no matter what they're doing, because the decree is from the Most High. And he decreed that the tabernacles of David should be builded back up. And no matter what you do, no matter how you say it, no matter how many people you send out there, no matter how many spies or infiltrators, or how much money you pay people, or even if you shut down America, or you shut down the world, you're not going to stop the building of the nation of Israel, the tabernacles of David. You know? Because it's already in motion. You got it, brother.
Yeah, because this work isn't of men.
That's it.
Because if it was, it would come to naught.
That's it.
They would be able to hinder and be able to stop it.
That's right. So, and now we're doing it spiritually. You got it right. You got it right.
Ezra chapter 5, verse 5. But the eye of their power was upon the elders of the Jews, that they could not cause them to cease, till the matter came to Darius, and then they returned answer by letter concerning this matter. The copy of the letter that Tatnai, governor on this side the river, and Shethar-Boznai and his companions, the Arphasachites, which were on this side the river, sent unto Darius the king. They sent a letter unto him, wherein was written thus, unto Darius the king, all peace, be it known unto the king, that we went into the province of Judea to the house of the great power, which is builded with great stones, and timber is laid in the walls, and this work goeth fast on, and prospereth in their hands. Then asked we those elders, and said unto them thus, who have commanded you to build this house, and to make up these walls?
Motherfuckers, man.
We asked their names also, to certify thee, that we might write the names of the men that were the chief of them. And thus they returned us answer, saying, we are the servants of the power of heaven and earth, and build the house that was builded these many years ago, which a great king of Israel builded and set up. But after that our fathers had provoked the power of heaven unto wrath, he gave them into the hand of Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, the Chaldean, who destroyed this house and carried the people away into Babylon. But in the first year of Cyrus, the king of Babylon, the same king Cyrus made a decree to build this house of the Most High, and the vessels also of gold and silver of the house of the Most High, which Nebuchadnezzar took out of the temple that was in Jerusalem, and brought them into the temple of Babylon. Those did Cyrus the king take out of the temple of Babylon, and they were delivered unto one whose name was Sheshbazzar, whom he had made governor, and said unto him, take these vessels, go, carry them into the temple that is in Jerusalem, and let the house of the Most High be built in its place. Then came the same Sheshbazzar and laid the foundation of the house of the Most High, which is in Jerusalem, and since that time even until now hath it been in building, and yet it is not finished. Now therefore, if it seem good to the king, let there be search made in the king's treasure house, which is there at Babylon, whether it be so. that a decree was made of Cyrus the king to build this house of the Most High at Jerusalem, and let the king send his pleasure to us concerning this matter.
Go 6.
That was the end of
Yeah,
5, right? All right, yeah. To read 6, read from verse 1 to verse 18, and then we'll read real quick Daniel 9:25 again, and then close out there.
All right. Ezra chapter 6, verse 1. Then Darius the king made a decree, and search was made in the house of the rolls, where the treasures were laid up in Babylon.
Yeah, because that's what they had back then. Rolls, scrolls. You know, they didn't have books like we have today. You know, because they had the soft covers and hard covers and all that. They had rolls. You know, that's why when the prophet Isaiah saw the nuclear destruction, he described the nuclear fire or the nuclear when the nuclear bombs hit as the heavens being rolled together as a scroll. You know, you got it out.
And there was found at Admitha in the palace that is in the province of the Medes a roll, and therein was a record thus written. In the first year of Cyrus the king, the same Cyrus the king made a decree concerning the house of the Most High at Jerusalem.
Yeah, so these nations, they kept records. You know, they kept their own records. That's why there's certain secular history among these nations that prove that the Israelites existed. That prove that these events are actual events that took place in history. Factual things that the scriptures speak about. You know? You got it, bro. And if y'all, like I said, if y'all brothers want to jump in, you know.
So to speak on that, you know, I have the Assyrian records, or the records of the kings of Assyria, and they speak about the northern kingdom of Israel. They call the northern kingdom the house of Omri. You know, and Omri, he's the one that built up, you know, Samaria.
Right.
You know, so and they also speak about how Jehu, the king of Israel, brought them tribute. You know, and they speak about how Sargon carried away about 27,000 Israelites to Assyria, because there were different deportations. So that history lines up with the scriptures, man.
Yeah.
You know, like the apostle said.
That's right. That's right, baby. You got it up.
In the first year of Cyrus the king, the same Cyrus the king made a decree concerning the house of the Most High at Jerusalem. Let the house be builded, the place where they offer sacrifices, and let the foundations thereof be strongly laid, the height thereof 60 cubits, and the breadth thereof 60 cubits, with 3 rows of great stones, and a row of new timber, and let the expenses be given out of the king's house. And also let the golden and silver vessels of the house of the Most High, which Nebuchadnezzar took forth out of the temple, which is at Jerusalem, and brought unto Babylon, be restored and brought again unto the temple, which is at Jerusalem, every one to his place, and place them in the house of the Most High. Now therefore Tatnai, governor beyond the river, Shethar-Boznai, and your companions, the Apharsachites, which are beyond the river, be ye far from thence. Let the work of this house of the Most High alone. Let the governor of the Jews and the elders of the Jews build this house of the Most High in his place. Moreover, I make a decree which ye shall do to the elders of these Jews for the building of this house of the Most High, that of the king's goods, even of the tribute beyond the river, forthwith the expenses be given unto these men, that they be not hindered, and that which they have need of, both young bullocks and rams and lambs, for the burnt offerings of the Most High of heaven, wheat, salt, wine, and oil, according to the appointment of the priests which are at Jerusalem, let it be given them day by day without fail, that they may offer sacrifices of sweet savors unto the Most High of heaven, and pray for the life of the king and of his sons.
Slightly, can I say something?
Go ahead.
Hey, basically Darius the king cursed them out. He said, let the work of this house of the Most High alone.
Right.
Leave us alone and make sure we have everything that we need to rebuild it. So it didn't go in the heathen's favor, you know?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
He was offering the sacrifices, sweet savors, like whatever they need, give it to them.
Yep. And then it's like, you know, like the verse just read, like, you know, pray for me too. You know, make sure I'm good, because those different kings, you know, they understood that the Most High set them up.
Yep.
You know?
That's right.
When Esau started ruling, he was the only one that didn't understand that, you know.
Yeah,
Just
with his
being
demonic
the devil.
ass.
New World Order. You know. Also, I have made a decree that whosoever shall alter this word, let timber be pulled down from his house, and being set up, let him be hanged thereon, and let his house be made a dunghill for this.
Right, man.
And the Most High that have caused his name to dwell there, destroy all kings and people that shall put to their hand to alter and to destroy this house of the Most High, which is at Jerusalem. I, Darius, have made a decree, let it be done with speed.
That is beautiful.
The Tatnai governor on this side the river, Shetharboznai and their companions, according to that which Darius the king had sent, so they did speedily. And the elders of the Jews builded, and they prospered through the prophecy of Haggai the prophet and Zechariah the son of Edo, and they built it and finished it, according to the commandment of the Most High of Israel, and according to the commandment of Cyrus and Darius and Artaxerxes king of Persia. And this house was finished on the 3rd day of the month Adar, which was in the 6th year of the reign of Darius the king. And the children of Israel, the priests and the Levites, and the rest of the children of captivity, kept the dedication of this house with the Most High with joy, and offered at the dedication of this house of the Most High 100 bullocks, 200 rams, 400 lambs, and for a sin offering for all Israel, 12 he-goats according to the number of the tribes of Israel. And they set the priests in their divisions and the Levites in their courses for the service of the Most High, which is at Jerusalem, as it is written in the book of Moses.
712 sacrifices or offerings.
Yep, that's it. All right, so somebody just read Daniel 9:25 real quick, and we're gonna close it out with that. Because this pretty much has been the first 2 verses of Daniel, the 9th chapter, which the walls being built in troublous times. You got it?
Daniel chapter 9, verse 25. Know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and to build Jerusalem unto the Messiah the Prince shall be 7 weeks and 62 weeks.
Right, that's 69 weeks, which is a period of 483 years. Go ahead.
The street shall be built again, and the wall even in troublous times.
Right, the street shall be built again, and the walls even in troublous times. So we went through the history, we read some articles, we went through the history of we didn't go through all of the history, because you got the book of Haggai, and you got still more accounts in the book of Nehemiah and in the book of Ezra, but we hit the points, the main points of that, to break down just those 2 verses. And we've been going for like almost an hour, 15 minutes, and that's just basically going through it kind of quickly, so this history is vast, so with that, we hope your brothers have been edified, and we'll say Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, and Shalom.